His capacity to love you and to commit you is going to be based on this. And we're going to dive into what it takes for a man to truly open his heart and actually be capable of love. So I want to share with you all that last weekend I went to a party that happened to be, I believe, 28 couples. I think there was a half a dozen single women, and I happened to be the only single man there. Technically, there was the bartender who was single. And within my circle of friends, of these 28 couples, most every one of them are happily married or in a relationship. And why I share this with you is this: I happen to be part of a community. I call it my spiritual community. We can even call it church to some degree, of some really amazing human beings, particularly not only just the women in the group, but certainly the men in the group as well. Why I'm sharing this with you is as I observe these men, and while I observe the way they operate in relationship, and again, these are people I've known for over a decade, they seem to have this one thing in common. In fact, I was talking to one couple who I've known. I went to their wedding 10 years ago, but it's interesting. I never heard about their first date story. And when they were sharing it with me, they said, well, our first date, we never left each other's side after our first date. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm scratching my head. You mean after your first date, you hadn't left each other's side? Well, it turns out that they actually, and I didn't know this, had known each other for about 5 years. They were each separately in relationship with other people, and they belonged to something called ecstatic dance. Has anyone here in the group heard of ecstatic dance? This is a place that I guess on Tuesday and Thursday night, they have dancing, and it's very free flowing. And they happen to know each other, but they were also separately in relationship, but they developed a friendship through this ecstatic dance. And when each one of their relationships ended about a year later, they met for a date and then didn't leave each other's side. Why I'm sharing this with you is, unlike our current dating model, these two people happen to be friends for quite some period of time before they ever went out on a date. You see, our current dating model is very broken. We have a very broken system of meeting people. We are no longer meeting people in an organic environment where we're introduced to each other through our friends. And because of this, there's a mass marketing approach to dating, and it's all based on the entertainment and romancing of each other, instead of it being conscious, intentional, and a heart-based way of dating. Let me repeat that. It's not conscious. It's not intentional. It's not a heart-based way of dating. You see, the traditional narrative is men are the leaders of the process, but let's be clear. Some men are rather clueless at the dating process for reasons we'll get into in a moment. And please don't listen to the red pill community that claims that the problem with dating today is the feminist movement. Women's empowerment is what's the problem, according to the red pill community. The problem is some human beings have weak emotional maturity and poor relationship skills. Let me repeat that. Some human beings have weak emotional maturity and poor relationship skills. That's one of the biggest problems out there. And we're going to dive into that in a little bit more in a moment. See, the most important question isn't whether if he's a good man or a kind man. And let me be clear, that's a very important question to ask. But the real important question each one of you should be asking, both for yourself and for the man, is whether he's capable of love and whether he's capable of commitment. That is a more important question. Let me repeat that. That's rather important. Is he capable of love? Is he capable of commitment? Now, I want you ladies to know, as I witnessed this past weekend with my group of friends, men are doing the personal development work at record numbers. Men are doing the healing work. Men are seeking out help, not from a relationship perspective, from an inner harmony perspective. Many of you heard me talk about the Hoffman process. By the way, if you haven't read the book, The Hoffman Process, by the way, there's a link below. This is both within the book, but in the retreat, which I went to. This allows you to heal your childhood wound and your adult traumas that may cause you to have negative patterns and limiting beliefs in your life. And again, in the show notes is Jonathan recommend books. Well, I'm sharing this with you. When I went in 2017, there was 39 people in our group, 20 of them men and 19 of them women. Did you hear that? There were more women at this group than there were men. I know you ladies all believe that you've all done the work and no men have done the work and it's just nothing but broken men, but I'm here to share with you. These were men who were looking to heal from their childhood. They were looking to live, they were seeking answers to living a more fulfilled life. So the men are doing the work out there. You know, it's interesting. I shared with you our broken dating system. See, part of the reason why it's broken is we have something known as paradox of choice and also FOMO, which is fear of missing out. Paradox of choice is that because of our devices, I spoke to a woman, interestingly enough, on a dating app today. It turns out we were a mismatch for one another, but she says she has over 500 likes, 500 swipes from men, 500 swipes. You know, when you have that much to choose from, it can create a paradox of choice. And what happens is we become frozen trying to navigate all of this. But more importantly, if you go out with someone and you go, God, we're fit, but you know what? He doesn't like sushi, or, you know, we're a fit, but I'm a skier and he's not a skier. And that makes you want to go back in the dating marketplace because guess what? There were 500 men there. And now because of too many options, I think that's one of the reasons why our system is broken. But I also think dating is rather dysfunctional because we do have a significant percentage of wounded human beings out in the dating marketplace. And some people aren't ready for love or ready for commitment. In fact, I had one client reach out to me after going through my boot camp coaching program. And I'm going to share with you what she wrote me. She said, personal coaching was tough. It caused me to think differently and really look at myself. After going through Jonathan's program and the homework, I discovered that I wasn't ready to get out there yet. When I signed up, I thought that I really wanted a relationship. I do actually, but going through Jonathan's coaching, I realized I have a lot of personal work to do to be ready. The material that I never had gone through over before. I plan to take the time to go over his tutorials and put what he taught me into practice going forward. I enjoyed our time together that we spent together. Thanks, Jonathan, for your love and patience with me. See, ladies, it isn't just men who aren't ready for commitment. Many of you find going through this deeper inner work that you might not be ready for commitment yourself. Look at, these are just some of the notes, that just some of the outlines on my coaching program. I don't want to share it all with you. You have to schedule. By the way, if you want to connect with me, schedule a discovery. There's a link below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. Folks, as I said before, we have a very broken system. Much like the broken clock method. Have you ever heard the phrase, a broken clock is right twice a day? You see, the problem is we're not using what I teach, which is an authentic love attraction model. Let me repeat that, an authentic love attraction model. See, we have a mass marketing, entertainment-based dating model. And I'm here to teach more of a conscious, authentic, intentional, heart-based way of approaching relationships. So his capacity to love you and commit is based on this. His capacity to love you is based on his relationship readiness. And you're going to want to write this down. His capacity to let love in, or your capacity to let love in, is going to be based on these two factors. So pull out your notepad because I want you to take notes. And if you're watching the replay, rewind and come back here. His capacity to love and commit to you is based on, his readiness is based on his desire his capability, and his vision for a committed relationship, his desire, his capability, his vision exceeds his fears and his past hurts, or her fears and her past hurts. Let me repeat that. The desire, capacity, vision exceeds the fear and the past hurts. Now, many people have what's known as an avoidant love attachment style. That means that they have a fear around commitment. Some people had that from childhood, but there's also studies that show that a significant relationship that hurt someone could cause them to have fear due to this past hurt. So their desire, their capacity, their vision exceeds their past pain and their fear. Now, you're probably going, okay, well, I've got a guy who's ready. How does he know, or how do I know they're the one? And this is really important. So write this down, please. Okay. How do you know that the person is the one? If your desire for this person exceeds the misalignment and the differences. Let me repeat that. The desire for this person exceeds the misalignment or differences. So remember we were talking about earlier how, the fear of missing out and the paradox of choice. And we were talking about, well, maybe there's a guy out there that is a skier, so let me hold out for that guy. There's a guy out there that loves sushi. Let me hold out for that guy. When your desire for that person exceeds the differences or the misalignments, the reality is we're never going to find someone so perfectly aligned. It's rare to have the puzzle fit perfectly. There are going to be parts of the puzzle piece that don't fit. But your desire for this person exceeds the misalignment. But remember, we talked about fear and past hurts. See, readiness is about healing that space and then having clarity on who's the right person for you. In my authentic love attraction model, one of the benefits my clients have when working with me, and it amazes me the minute women make investment in this program, it blows me away how I get calls each week. Jonathan, I met a great guy. Jonathan, I met a great guy. Jonathan, I met a great guy. And they know the difference because they are operating in their authentic self. And we don't have to label it masculine or feminine. It's just your authentic self. Because what you seek in a relationship is going to be different than someone else. We can't pigeonhole people. Each person is unique unto themselves. So when you get a true sense of who you are on the inside, you become a magnetic attractor for those men who have actually are emotionally grown up. I call them grower and builders. These are emotionally grown up men. They have good relationship skills. They have their act together. Believe it or not, ladies, there are men out there. But Jonathan, it's just a sea of dysfunctionality. Folks, you always ask me, where can I find the right man? That's the wrong question as well. The question is, how can the right man find me? Can someone put that in the chat box? How can the right man find me? First, you have to become a magnetic attractor for that man by becoming deeply connected with a recognition of who's right for you. See, in a sea of dysfunctionality, if you're not crystal clear, like that client I spoke of who said, oh my God, I'm so not ready. I didn't realize it until doing this work. And ladies, as I said before, there are plenty of men that are doing the inner work to be ready for a significant relationship. You just have to, A, learn how to vet properly, but most importantly, you have to get connected to your divine self, your authentic self. Because when you're connected to your authentic self, your intuition starts doing the work for you. Your intuition is giving you insight all the time. The problem is all the noise out there, those 500 likes like that woman shared that she had. It's all noise. The paradox of choice, the fear of missing out, it's all noise. Because when you get deeply connected to your divinity, to your divine self, you become a magnetic attractor for what you want. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know if it is. Post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos as well. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's a link below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. You can join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. You can follow me on Instagram and get all the books I recommend. All right. Those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, write the word question in the chat box and then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. All of the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Aslay. That's a picture of him right there with his brother, Colin. He's my son who passed away over 6 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process and Insight Institute, just to name a few. And also scholarships to coaching. Our goal tonight is $50, so we'd appreciate some love. Okay? All right, so if you have a question, post the question before. Olga says, hello, brave ladies. Wishing you all well. Maureen says it's sinking in. Debbie, who's in the house, says it's sinking in. Cheryl wants to remind everyone what I said earlier. How can the right man find me? That's the question you should be asking yourself. Stamper's Secret says, how can I get over a catfisher? So, great question. Certainly self-awareness is probably 80% of this. Examine what caused you to be attracted to this person on a level that was mostly cyber. I'm going to assume you had a cyber relationship. It was based on text messaging each other. You probably didn't have telephone calls, I'm going to assume. And it probably went on a long time. So you have to ask yourself, why did I allow myself to get attached to a person whom I've never met? How did I allow myself to get attached to a person I never met? And how you can avoid that going forward is meet people rather quickly. Folks, I have a system. It's called 3, 2, 1, 3. The 3 stands for no more than 3 email exchanges. If you connected through a dating site, no more than 3 email exchanges should lead to either 1 or 2 telephone calls. That should lead to 1 date, all inside of 3 weeks. 3, 2, 1, 3. 3 email exchanges, up to 1 or 2 telephone calls, all leading to 1 date in a 3-week period. But Jonathan, he's long distance. Folks, if it's long distance, immediately do a FaceTime chat with that person. Immediately. Do not hesitate. That should be the first thing you do to avoid a catfisher. Is the first thing you do is, but Jonathan, he doesn't have Wi-Fi and he doesn't have this and he doesn't have that. You guys can give me all the fucking bullshit excuses in the world. Trust me, real people can get on a FaceTime fairly quickly. Okay? All right, thanks, Stampers, for that question. By the way, if anyone wants to join me on the hot seat, I just posted a link as well. Power of Chi. Question. Paralysis of analysis, just another way we self-sabotage or talk ourselves out of doing something that's out of our comfort zone, but serves us. What do you think? You know, I have a theory. Analysis paralysis is a clue that you're not ready for a relationship. It seems to me that everybody who's in a happy relationship didn't do analysis paralysis. I think when we do analysis paralysis, it's a sign that inner work is probably necessary. And I think that's a bypassing system because of fear. I think the analysis paralysis is based on fear. Remember I said earlier, relationship readiness is based on when your desire, your capacity, and your vision exceeds the fear and the pain. Analysis paralysis is all based on past pain. That means that fear or pain exceeds the desire. When the desire becomes so strong, and one of the exercises we do in my private coaching is designed to amplify that desire, so you become a magnetic attractor for what you want. But I believe it's there as a stopgap to say to you, you're not ready for a relationship. Some people have analysis paralysis their entire life. That means they're probably, even though they want a relationship, their desire and vision and capacity doesn't exceed their fear. Wanda's back in the house with the same question she's asked before. Why do men not read your profile to even see if you have anything in common before they like you? And I'm not wasting your time. It's interesting. Women do the same thing. I had a woman reach out to me on a dating profile. It clearly says I'm seeking an empty nester. And when first question I asked her, are your children launched? And she said, I have a 6-year-old. I'm like, okay, wait a minute, a 6-year-old? I'm like, come on. I mean, I clearly said empty nester. So why don't people read? Because they swipe sometimes based on pictures. And somehow they think you set your must-haves and they're going to go, well, maybe they'll change their mind because I'm so wonderful. Maybe that he'll change his mind because I'm so wonderful. Folks, when you are clear on your must-have and deal breakers, just recognize that a lot of people are just fishing. It's women, Wanda, just like men. It's women, just like men. Lorraine says, I don't believe that the in common things that people list on their profiles mean anything much to the success of a relationship. I've heard women say, or some people say, we are so much in common. You like sushi? Me too. You like pickleball? Oh my God, I love it. You like the Rolling Stones? Oh my God, I've seen Mick Jagger in concert 10 times. We have so much in common. Certainly those are areas of compatibility. I mean, some familiarity with one another. True compatibility lies in shared values and shared vision, lifestyles that are blendable, and most importantly, emotional maturity. Anyway, yes, I would agree. Regina's in the house. How do we recognize if a man is in the position and feels desire over seeing flaws? They always think there's a better place than, they always think they're in a better place than they are and talk a good game. It's interesting. As I shared earlier in this broadcast, I was talking about a client of mine who thought she was clearly ready for a relationship. And then she did this inner work and realized she wasn't ready. See, the problem is we human beings have a capacity to gaslight ourselves. So it's not uncommon that men and women do this. This is why one of the things we do in my private coaching is we learn radical honesty, laying your cards on the table, and the rules of engagement. This conscious, intentional, heart-centered approach to relationships is all about cutting through the garbage. I was speaking to a prospective client the other day, and it was interesting. She went out on 5 dates with a guy, and I'm like, I could have told you before you ever went on the first date this was going to happen. If you follow my methodology of really interrogating a person. But Jonathan, all the other dating coaches tell me I should never interview someone because that's a turnoff. Yes, because in our current entertainment, romance-based way of dating, it's all designed to hook you on a romantic level so a guy can get his penis inside the vagina. There's a saying, men are the gas, women are the brakes. Women are the gatekeepers of sex and men are the gatekeepers of commitment. If you really want to determine his capacity, then you got to ask these radically honest questions I teach in my private coaching to at least put the odds in your favor. But Jonathan, men are going to be turned off by this. Yes, the wrong man is so turned off by this interrogation. But guess what? The emotionally grown-up men, I'm going to tell you something. Clients call me all the time. Jonathan, I pulled out my workbooks from our coaching And I asked these questions of a guy on our second date. I pulled it all out. First off, they end up having like a 5-hour date, and the emotionally grown up men go, oh my God, I love this. This is great. Because the emotionally grown up men want a significant relationship. And if two people are attracted to each other, that's all you need. Excuse me while I slurp. Anyway, Dogland says, the last month and a half started texting with a guy from high school. We both had crushes on each other, but never went out. I told him I wanted to talk on the phone, but he has avoided it. Then discontinue texting. Just discontinue texting. But Jonathan, I'm already hooked on this guy. Magic fairy dust is going to change everything because I know magic fairy dust is going to change everything if I just hold out and just wait for that magic fairy dust. Just stop texting him. Because he's not legit. If you guys have been texting for a month now I'm going to assume you probably have distance involved. Okay? You probably live hundreds and hundreds of miles away from each other. If you guys lived around the corner, you guys should have met for a drink by now. Should I give him space? No, you don't give him space. You just stop communication. Oh my God, I'm so fucking tired of these videos out there. Give a man space. Lean back in your feminine energy and give him space. No, you lean into your fucking sovereignty. You just stop communicating with them. And you just simply say, look, if you want to talk, let's get on a telephone call. If you want to talk, let's get on a FaceTime call. Because Dogland, you're going to get sucked into the trap that so many women get sucked into. This vortex of just incessant communicating via technology. That's not dating. Remember my rule, 3, 2, 1, 3. 3 email or text exchanges should lead to 1 or 2 phone calls, and it should lead to a date, all in 3 weeks. Folks, is this sinking in at all? By the way, I'd appreciate some love for the Connor Asley Scholarship Fund. Power of Cheese says that makes a lot of sense. How long, Dogland wants to know, how long you give him space? You don't set a time limit. You just stop communicating. If he wants to get on it, just simply say, if you want to talk, call me. Otherwise, I'm done communicating. Paula says, I get annoyed with guys who ask me things that are clearly stated on my profile. I swear to God, you women do the exact same thing. I get it. It is effing annoying. Like, read the damn thing. Mystic Tarot Card Cafe says, I need to catch up on reading. You're helping me with realizing a few things. It's time to explore further. Do you know roughly about 60% of the women who follow my channel are single, they want love, and they haven't gone on a date for a very long time. They're single, they want love, they want a relationship, but they're not willing to do the work. That's probably 60% of you. Some of you have gaslighted yourselves into thinking you're ready, and I'm being blunt here. And I'm probably being generous when I say 60%. Now, I would say 20% are in a relationship and they're unhappy. I have had married women reach out to me. They're unhappy in their marriage, as if somehow dating advice is going to change everything. No, grown-up advice changes things. Having grown-up conversations with people changes things. Anyway, I'm just babbling here for a second. Marina says, American men do not truly commit. Let me just say this, ladies, you're just, again, there's truth to that. There's a significant percentage of men and women who don't want to commit. And there's a significant percentage of women who are so afraid of commitment that they don't do the inner work. It's true for men and women alike, but that's changing. The good news is that's changing. Love Jay says, wants to know, Jonathan is still dating that woman. Love Jay, you probably aren't aware, but that my relationship ended almost 11 and a half months ago. Actually, it'll be 12 months next week. Let's see. Roxanne is in the house. Why do I keep going back to a relationship that is nothing but friends with benefits? We break up, make up, it's great. And then it comes back to doing this. Roxanne. What's that say in bold red letters? Self-love, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-worth, self-reliance, self-respect is all tapped into self-love. This is my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A journey of personal development, self-love, a journey of personal developments, personal development, self-help, and spiritual work, okay? You can get a copy of my book listed below. Roxanne, I would venture to say that you have very low self-respect. I'm sorry to be blunt this way. I've heard this from women thousands of times. There's something hurting inside of you that makes you go for crumbs, because a crumb is better than nothing in your world, but it eats you up on the inside, and that's not healthy either. Self-respect requires self-discipline. Can someone write this in the chat box? Teal Swan, Teal Swan, T-E-A-L, Teal Swan, S-W-A-N. Video, just look up on YouTube video on self-discipline leads to happiness. Self-discipline leads to happiness. I want you to watch that video, Roxanne, because you need to discipline yourself because you're lacking self-respect. That's your why. I'm sorry. I'm giving you a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug. Radical honesty sounds hard and exciting. It's hard because you know what, ladies? You all have this. You have duct tape on your mouth. You're afraid because, Jonathan, if I speak up, he might leave me. This guy who's not into me anyway, if I just speak my truth, this guy who's broken, this guy who's unable to commit, this guy who's so wounded, but if I ask him serious questions, he might leave me. You mean he might stop using you because all he's using you for is mostly his therapist. Speak up, speak your truth. Hey, Hannah just gave us a $20 super sticker. Thank you for the love. That means $30 left for our goal tonight. Big hugs of appreciation. Annika says, can physical attraction develop over time? How many dates should I go on to determine that? Your opinion. I love this question. So I have a rule of thumb. So long as the man doesn't have a beer gut the size of Texas or missing front teeth. And what I mean to say is, unless you're completely grossed out by the person, and sometimes we feel that way. Okay. Sorry. It's just fact of our egoic life. Okay. But so long as they're a 5 on a scale from 1 to 10. Okay. So long as they're a 5, which means they're average. Okay. Here's my rule of thumb. If you feel an energetic connection with them, give them 3 dates. If you feel an intellectual connection with them, give them 3 dates. At least a minimum of 3 dates. You know, I've interviewed thousands of women, and I would say nearly 1/3 of them have told me, and I quote, I wasn't attracted to my guy for the first few dates. But something changed. At a minimum, give a man 3 dates. You know, oftentimes the happiest couples were started off as friends. They felt. So let me tell you a quick story. Remember I said earlier I did the Hoffman process? Okay. I did the retreat up in Napa area, Napa, California. 20 men, 19 women. And now you're not allowed to tell people what you do for a living until the second to the last night. And you get up on stage and share a little bit about your experience. You got 1 minute to share who you are, your full name, and what you do. And when I shared with everyone I'm a dating and relationship coach, that evening at the jacuzzi, all the women hovered around me. All the women hovered around me. And one of the women came up to me and she said, Jonathan, I want to be honest with you. When I got here, there were two men I was attracted to. Happened to be you and this other guy who looked like the Marlboro Man, you know, kind of that Sam Elliott kind of look, you know, really rugged, looks like he could be a cowboy or a whatnot. And she said, after a week with all these men, she goes, I would date every single man in this room because I got to see their heart. See, remember I said earlier, men are doing the work. Men who do the work have hearts that radiate in ways you can't even imagine, and looks fade after, as you know, let's face it, looks fade. But a heart can keep growing more beautiful and more beautiful and more beautiful every day. So Annika, just that's my 2 cents on that one. Oh, Dogland does want to remind me that this high school friend is long distance. I could peg that every single time. Good luck with that fantasy. Marina says, be realistic with the quality of men today. I'm here to say it's equal for men and women. Women are just as messed up as men. We can't put it, believe me, I'm telling you this. This is the gaslight women do to themselves. It's the man's fault. And the men going, it's the woman's fault. That's why the red pill community was invented, to point the finger at women, and women point the finger at men. Dogland comes back and says, thank you. He is the first person I've talked to since my husband has died and no idea what I'm doing. Yes, that's very clear. And I guess what you should be doing is cutting off communication if he's not willing to talk to you on the phone. Donna is in the house. What are the questions to ask someone to understand whether or not the guy is ready to explore a relationship? Do you just ask something like, what tells you that you are ready to date? No, we have a very sophisticated system in my authentic love attraction model. We have a very sophisticated system. We have 2 exercises that we go through. One is called radical honesty, pre-qualifying your prospect, and the other is gauge his emotional maturity. It's something you learn in my private coaching. Right here's a link to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you, Donna. This is something that we have to custom tailor to your needs. This isn't something generalized, okay? All right, let's keep going. Oh, Christiana just gave us a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much. That means our goal for tonight is $20. Jonathan is on a roll tonight. I'm actually not feeling, I'm feeling a little disconnected because there aren't as many people live as normally. So I guess I'm fear of not having enough on. I'm getting my own little anxiety. I'm just aware of that. Oh, Deem P says, exactly right, Jonathan. Thank you. You're very welcome. Pamela's in the house. I'm in a long distance relationship with a guy who treats me great when we're together, but I have to reason to believe he's not totally over his ex who divorced him 15 years ago. He failed to tell me his ex was at, let's see if there's something more to this. Okay. So what you're experiencing, Pamela, is known as a bubble relationship. Someone write this in the chat box, bubble relationship. What that means is when you're together, it's great. He gets his needs met of companionship, connection, and sex. He gets his needs of companionship, connection, and sex. Or you're both getting your needs of companionship, connection, and sex. But the minute you go back home, he's back to his life. You see, the only way you can get to know someone is through social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, both in your personal and your professional life, intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy. So if you're not in a variety of different circumstances, you're not truly getting to know one another. And you are, again, can someone write this in the chat box? Bubble relationship. Okay. I'm sorry you're experiencing that. And it's not going to change. And it maybe has to do with his ex-wife, or it just might be You know what? He just enjoys the companionship, connection, and sex, but he's not ready for commitment. All right. Wait, Sharon says, oh my God, why are you telling? I've been told I would make a great detective. Radical honesty works so well. I really rarely want to go on a second date. I suggest doing the work even before a first date. Eleanor Martin says, women need to be friends, not enemies. Men stick by each other, unlike women. If you say no to a man, another will say yes and gets used. So it's an ongoing situation. Yeah, I was going to say women oftentimes are very cruel to one another, but men don't seem to be the same. Although men can be very competitive with one another. Mystic Tarot Card Cafe says, what does it mean when a man says, I love you so much, but you have so much on your plate, when asked about his intentions? I think humans have a very confused, warped sense of love. I think some people love could be an unhealthy attachment. If you're not familiar with these three books, okay? One, Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller, or Wired for Love by Dr. Stan Tatkin, okay? Someone write those in the chat box. Attached, Wired for Love, and also Thais Gibson's book, Learning Love. Learning Love is all about understanding attachment style. What they might be experiencing is known as an insecure attachment. An insecure attachment. They call that love. But their capacity to actually love, these are typically avoidant people. Their capacity to love is very limited. This is one of the things we talk about in my private coaching called Know Thyself. And in this Know Thyself, we really examine our individual love attachment styles to really determine if our capacity to love even exists. And you might be experiencing an avoidant attachment style. Donna says, this describes me, but I needed to take 3 years to heal and grieve. I also live in a small Canadian ski town. Yeah, you get a lot of travelers there. I have been reading a book called Codependence by Melanie Beatty. Is that her book? Oh, yeah. Actually, it's called, folks, this was like old school avoidant conversations, but it's called Codependent No More by Melanie Beatty. Yes, that is correct. I found it very challenging. Yes, it can be. Okay. Let's keep going here. Diane wants to remind everyone of what I shared before. Teal Swan video on self-discipline leads to happiness. Exactly. Bump, 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 bump. Oh, wow. Diane just gave us a $20 super sticker. Thank you for the love. And also, Annika's in the house. $5 super sticker. Well, then we're going to shoot for $100 tonight. Thank you so much. Vedonka says, everyone read that book. I did, and it changed my whole world. Oh, so happy to hear. Let's see what else we have here. OG Dime P says, facts, cause I wasn't immediately attracted to my man when we first met. Now he's all I think about. You know what? I think one of the challenges, I think swipe dating. Let's go to Bumble, right? Oh, there, my Match.com profile. I think swipe dating has marginalized people. I think we're so accustomed to discounting people based on looks. And the problem with those of us in midlife, and midlife is after baby making years and before retirement, many of us are dating with 20 and 30-year-old eyes. In other words, not, and what I mean to say is, we imagine that a person should be looking like in their 20s and 30s and not really evaluating a person based on their true age these days. So I think that's one of the challenges we're faced with. You know, when you get to connect with someone at a heart-centered level, looks don't mean as much. I mean, we men need to have physical attraction to get a hard on, okay? So we need that physical attraction to be able to be physically attracted to someone. But I've been told that men fall in love with their eyes and women fall in love between the ears. I mean, I learned that from Dr. Pat Allen. I mean, I don't know if that's truly true, but that's what I've heard. Mystic Tarot card, Tea Time with Lola says, regarding catfish scams, you have to be careful. Yesterday, I got a job offer, did my homework, checked online, made a few calls, called the office to see if it was real, found out it was a scam. Well, that's an interesting scam. I'm probably trying to get your social security number. Aries says, oops. Do it one more time. What is wrong with you, Jonathan, tonight, Jonathan? You were quite rude to the woman who was mentioned, the guy she knew from high school. I think that's what she said, and that's long distance. So I recognize that my coaching can be a little bit tough love. And within tough love, I can appear to be rude. Certainly, that is not my intent to hurt anyone's feelings. But I will say is that if you desire to speak on the telephone and that person's avoiding it, I'm going to be blunt. This is tough love. Okay. I'm going to be blunt. Just stop communicating. Or just give them a heads up. If we don't speak on the phone, I'm not interested in doing this anymore. That's all I'm saying. Cheryl says, I love your frankness and honesty. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Stamper's Secret says, thank you, Jonathan. This has been financially, emotionally devastating for me for 9 months. We did have some video calls. Again, some video calls. Folks, dating is the getting to know you period. Face to face. It takes 100 hours of face-to-face time just to build the first layer of trust. It takes about 200 hours of face-to-face time to build the second layer of trust. And I don't mean face-to-face this way. I mean face-to-face this way. It takes about 300 hours of face-to-face time to build the third layer of trust. Don't do video chats. Do it in person or don't do it at all. Okay. Corey Cobb has a personal question to ask me. What kind of car do you like? What kind of car do I have? I've always liked the Aston Martin from James Bond. I've always liked that car. I like the 8 Series convertible BMW. I like that car. I just happen to have an SUV now, an X1. So I barely drive. I put on like 3,000 to 4,000 miles a year. I barely drive because where I live, I can walk to the grocery store. I literally live in a place where I can walk most of the time to whatever I need. Okay, Diane wants to remind us, everybody, when I was talking earlier about bubble relationships. Thank you so much. Fran says, I don't think Jonathan was rude to Dog Island, just direct. I recognize that sometimes my directness can seem rude, so I do truly want to apologize if that felt rude to Dogland, okay? I keep saying Dog Island. Annika's back in the house. What if a guy says he needs to spend a lot of time with his friends when in a relationship, saying this is just his thing? Should I talk about some boundaries or just accept it? So I'm a big proponent of establishing the rules of engagement. So anyone that I'm interested in, I'm always very clear. I'm looking for a relationship where we spend 3-4 days and nights a week together doing shared activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together, teamwork, building skills, both in their personal and their professional life, intimacy, both physical and emotional intimacy that leads to either moving in together or getting married. Do I expect that on the first, second, or third date? No, but the minute I engage in a boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, this is my standard. Now, some women say, I can't meet that standard. I'm so busy. I have so many things in my life. I'm like, great. then we're a mismatch. Okay. I want to invest in someone who actually can, like, at least in my previous relationship, we moved in together and we spent all our time together. I'm looking for a day in, day out relationship. If someone's not looking for a day in, day out relationship, then it's probably not fit for me. You've got to determine what is right for you. What is your standard? Establish your standard, which is also a boundary, because a boundary, I like the way Brene Brown talks about boundaries. What's okay and what's not okay for me. You establish what your standard is. And if you can't meet it, then you move on to someone who can meet that standard. Okay. Corny Cobb, do you know anything about prep enriched marriage formation courses? If so, any opinion on him? I am not familiar with it. I will have to Google it. Okay. But I'm not familiar with it. Eleanor says, yes, interrogation is too hard if they want to sleep with you. Yes. By the way, men who are just in it for men with a short-term mating strategy don't like interrogations. Men who are grown-ups love deep conversations. Honey Yu says, I agree with Jonathan, just slapped us from reality. Women always romanticize small gestures, even doesn't mean anything in a man's side unless the men's actions are vocal about it. Oh my God. Jonathan, he called me 6 months ago to say, I like you. And then he hasn't called since. Should I hold out for him? Should I hope that magic fairy dust will make him call me? Human beings are rather fascinating. We are such fascinating creatures, how we can create a story and create a narrative out of nothing. It's fascinating to me. By the way, I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I'm guilty of it. Let's keep going here. Power Chi is back in the house. Question, have you heard of Rory Ray? If so, what do you think of her dating and relationship advice? Actually, Rory Ray is a social acquaintance of mine. We have different points of view. She has an old traditional point of view. I operate from our current dating marketplace environment, so we just have different points of view. Hey, if it resonates with you and it works for you, great. If it resonates and works for you, great. That's all that matters. Okay. Marilyn says, I do not have duct tape on my mouth. Guaranteed. I'm glad to hear that. Diane also wants to remind me or let me know, I don't think you were rude, just straightforward. Thank you for that. Oh, Dogland is actually saying it was exactly what I need to hear. So no hurt feelings. So it's interesting. This is an interesting point of view. How the receiver of the directness on my part wasn't taken aback by it, but someone else was taken aback by it. See, we all take in information differently, and we oftentimes project our stuff. This is just by the way, if you're not familiar with the book, Don Miguel Ruiz, The 4 Agreements. Oftentimes we can make up stories or project things. I highly recommend reading this book. And in this particular case, she was projecting how the other person felt because she was really projecting what she was feeling. She didn't like the way I delivered the information. And I can appreciate that. But just remember, it's just a perception. Every thought, the average human being has between 15 and 60,000 thoughts a day. 15 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Most of them, 90% of them are negative. And 90% of those negatives are like we relive them over and 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 over again. Isn't it fascinating what we human beings do? Anyways. Let's see. Maureen is in the house, and she says, I'm having a hard time learning the difference between relationship attachment and codependency. I believe attachment theory is a piggyback on codependent theory. I Actually, part of me just thinks it's the new buzzword. Love attachment is just the new buzzword for codependency. That's just a perception I have. I don't have any validity to it. It's just an interpretation I have. Now, this is sad what I'm reading. Stampers just said, I trusted him for $200,000. Oh, Stampers. I am sending you a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug. I am so sorry to hear that you had given away over $200,000 to a man who was a catfisher. I am so sorry to hear that. Folks, never give money to anyone who isn't somebody you live with or you're married to, okay? Do not give money to anyone that at least if you're living together or married. I mean, even then you might want to be mindful of your money, okay? Cheryl wants to ask a question. What is your opinion on a retired couple, early 60s, spending half their time together, 8 months and going strong? So, I mean, half their time together. Well, if that means 4.5 days or 3.5 days out of a week, I guess if it's working, great. You know, you got to do what's right for you. I think if that's working, then great. OMG, Dime P says the truth hurts. Keep telling the truth, Jonathan. It's a perspective. I don't want to say it's truth. In my mind, it's merely a perspective. Hey, Stampers gave us a $20 super sticker. Thank you for the love. We really appreciate it. Jonathan, your audience may be small today, but you're hitting the, I really thought today's content, it's funny, folks. So when I was getting ready for this presentation, which, oftentimes I feel like I repeat myself, but I really felt like today's content, particularly understanding our broken dating model and really encouraging an authentic way of approaching relationships, I believe is the catalyst for, okay, look at let me just say this. If you do no work on yourself and you cannot find a way to be seen by single eligible men, your chances for relationship success is like a broken clock. It's a jungle out there. My job is to put the odds forever in your favor, like Hunger Games. All right. Stamper says Lewis Howes knows about counseling before marriage. Yes, he talked before he slept with his now fiance. He said, would you be open to doing couples counseling as part of the dating process? And she agreed. Folks, there are men out there doing it. I would love to be. Anyone has any connections to Lewis Howe? I would love to be on his podcast and sharing my perspective with the world. I feel like more people need to hear what I have to say. I'd appreciate any of your help to make that happen. Mystic Tarot Card wants to write down, yes, Attached and Wired for Love. Great books. Let's just see. Bear with me 1 second. Is Todd in the house? I didn't see. Oh. Todd wants me, tell a woman you're thinking about her. It'll drive her crazy. That's funny. An anxious woman drive crazy. An avoidant woman, that's overwhelming to her. Okay. Jonathan, is 7 months too long to have a relationship established? If it took 7 months to get the penis inside the vagina, the answer is no. The minute the penis goes inside the vagina on a regular basis, they should be your boyfriend. You should be clearly exploring a serious relationship the minute the penis goes inside the vagina, folks. But Jonathan, if I talk about relationship, he'll break up with me. Would you rather be broken up in the first 3 months or the first 3 years? Make up your minds, folks. Debbie says, exactly. Okay, I'll repeat this, and then we're going to wrap up for the... All right, so someone write this down. Relationship readiness is when you're when your desire, capacity, and vision exceeds your fears and your past hurts. Your desires, your capacity, and vision exceeds your fears and your past hurts. That's relationship readiness. Before he or she knows you're the one, is their desire for you exceeds the misalignment or the differences. Let me repeat that. Their desire for you exceeds the misalignment or differences. Can someone write that down? Oops. Debbie says, I love that. You're very welcome. Okay. And this will be the last question. Okay, I typically do lives. Everyone asks me, when do I do lives? I do lives Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays, usually at 4:50 p.m. Pacific Coast time. Write that down. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays at 4:50 at Pacific Coast time, lasting for about an hour. Okay. Number two, I do Saturday mornings, typically at 8 a.m. Those are my live streams. Everything else is a video. Okay. Debbie says, thank you. Hugs to all. Okay, here it is. Cheryl just wrote it down. Desire, capacity, and vision exceeds fears and past hurts. Fears and past hurts. That's relationship readiness. For you to be the one, they have to be ready, and their desire for you has to exceed the misalignment and differences between the two of you. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know if it is. Post a comment below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on everything. I do my best to read these in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button right now. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of my live videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, schedule a link. There's a link right here. Schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. To join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, where you can have direct access to me on a regular basis through our Facebook group. You can follow me on Instagram and social media. You can get the books I recommend. You can get my dating vows. You can join my mailing list, all listed below. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First, I'll give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Bear hug of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love, if that's okay. I'm asking you to turn to someone, a pet, a teddy bear, a pillow. Give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank Cheryl and Empress and Todd and Dogland and Natty and Debbie and everybody who donated tonight, Mystic Tarot Card and Fran and Annika and Cheryl and Power of Chi and Aries, Donna, Fran, Wanda, D, M. Solomon, Gigi, everyone, big hugs to you. Thanks so much. Wishing you super duper wonderful evening. Be well. Bye now. Bye-bye.